Hey friends, it's Derek from TCI, and this time I had the foresight to bring my microphone with me, keep it in my pocket. That way the audio should be a little clearer. I'm in another riser closet today, and you might be hearing a hum in the background. That is from a transformer, so I've got my mic on noise canceling mode. Hopefully it cuts it out a little bit, and I apologize if the quality is not so good. But we're in a riser closet, so I will rotate just a bit so that you can see the space that I'm working in today. Now, what I like to do when I get the opportunity, if I have an intern or a new employee or somebody following me around and I'm trying to show them the ropes, I usually bring them to a room like this. So this area here, oh, sorry, don't mind my hand. I like to show them everything that is in one of these rooms that is on the board, and I will share that with you now. So why don't I step out of the view and just point at some things. So this here is what a typical riser closet looks like. It's just a room in a building, and in the room is typically pipe or conduit or just a hole in the floor, and it goes from one level to this level to the level above, and these are usually stacked in such a way that you can get from the basement all the way to the rooftop. And that is why this is called the riser closet. Your cables will be just sort of rising through the structure, and you break off whenever you're on a floor where your client is, and you deploy your cables there. Now, for folks that are in an older building, this room does not exist. So a lot of times if I wanted to get down to the level beneath me, I end up drilling a hole in the floor. So for things like that, you got to be careful. But in a modern building, there ought to be a riser closet. And depending on the region or city in which you live, they might also refer to it as a telecom closet or an electrical room or something of that nature. So let's talk a little bit about what you see here on the wall. So the number one thing I find in riser closets are these 66 blocks. So a 66 block is an old school phone system where you terminate or punch down wires on these teeth, and then these are what we call feeder cables, and then these here go out to either a cross connect, or in a lot of situations they'll go directly into let's say an 8 conductor cable, so something like that looks like a Cat6 like this, and those 8 conductors will go out and then sideways through the sidewall, and then those will land in the tenant spaces somewhere. They end up becoming your phone line, your fax line, the old school dial tone sort of lines. So here's a marking for some of this stuff here. This tenant has long ago, probably 30 years ago, they left. And so this is all left over. I would say almost 100% of the time, these are defunct when I come across them. And then you'll also find oddball devices like these. These are usually also defunct. And these are frequently related to door controls that I find elsewhere on this floor. And then this little fella here, which is still on, but is not working, this is actually a dial-in serial connection. So you would call through the phone lines this box, and then it would have a line out that goes up. And in this case, it was controlling that old phone system that's up there. That's long dead. That's for a tenant that hasn't been here for probably 20, 30 years. And this Adtran has probably been sitting here since the 90s. It was real popular in the old days for the vendor to give themselves an extra phone line and log in to make those changes. So what I'm here working on today is this area here. So there's a couple things worth pointing out. One is that there is some equipment from a modern ISP, and they've done a pretty nice job arranging their stuff. They don't have it in a cabinet, so I could actually mess with it. That's not ideal. You usually want a locked cabinet. but they do flatten everything against the wall, so there's some advantages to that. But if you look a little bit up, you're gonna see that white box. And that white box is from an old vendor that was an ISP, and their equipment has been defunct for, I don't know, 10 years now. So we're gonna bring that box down and eliminate all of the wiring that's going to that. And this yellow cable, so this is a thing. This yellow cable, you might think that's fiber, right? You're looking at that and you're thinking, Derek, that's fiber. Nope, that is an extension cord. Of course, I bumped the camera at that exact instant and turned off my video. Don't mind me screwing up. This thing right here, zip tying a power cord to a power pole and running it up to some equipment that's out of reach is a big no-no. So that is going to be the project today, is to get rid of that and this thing and all of its friends. So if you're looking here, we've got pretty fancy battery. We have an ancient battery, replacement batteries, end of life. And then we have probably the most recent of the batteries that was added. So the ISP that owns this equipment, they're long gone. They haven't been in business for some time. And even when they were in business, the only reason they ever came in this room was to add another battery pack, right? So you can see this is year 1, this is year 3, this is year 5, this was maybe, and in between, what was that? We got a date, 2015. All right, so you know that this equipment's been sitting here. This is also a hazard. You don't put this stuff on the ground. Of course, you're gonna trip on it, that's for sure. But the other reason you don't want this stuff like this on the ground is those batteries, these things, they can swell if they get hot, and then they'll leak, and then they'll leak out all over the floor here. And then that's, you know, obviously you don't want that. So that's today's work. And I hope that part has been interesting to you. That's just kind of the situation that I'm encountering here today. So we're gonna climb up here with the ladder and bring that sucker down, free up that wall space, free up the power outlet, get rid of this non-code conforming thing, and make this far more suitable. Well, that's been my little introduction to the riser rooms, and I usually take new people around and show them rooms like this. I take them to the data center. I take them all over the place when they're new, and I try to get them accustomed to the kinds of things that they see so that we can put names to all the devices. I got plenty more that I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna take you around and show you everything that I'm encountering. So there'll be lots more daily activities for us to talk about short form. Until then, happy network building, and I'll see you again real soon in the next one.